Battlefront 2 just hit another all-time high 24 hours after the first time, with almost peaking at 18,000 players. We were 34 players shy. As it is a Monday, we have taken a little bit of a tumble, falling just under 6,000, but it's Memorial Day, so we might see a pretty substantial upswing in player count today as well. Despite this, morale is at an all-time low for the Star Wars Battlefront fanbase. We came out swinging, we gave it everything we could, reportedly having over 300,000 players across all platforms, and yet EA has done absolutely nothing. Yet again, more people that have worked on the original Star Wars Battlefront 2 project have come out to support Star Wars Battlefront 3, but it doesn't mean much when the actual companies involved in the creation of such a project don't actually get back to us. The coping has commenced, with some people bailing on the idea of Star Wars Battlefront 3 and instead saying, just give us a Battlefront 2 update, start working on the game again, make it live service. And I would honestly be fine with either a Battlefront 3 or just continuing work on Battlefront 2, because Battlefront 2 has proven to stand the test of time. Community members have started to draft up ideas of what future updates could entail, taking the money-making aspect that EA wants so badly and factoring it in with battle passes, weapon skins, hero skins, new weapons, etc., taking a bit of a Fortnite approach to a potential continuation of Battlefront 2. And it looks great. This is a great idea. But beyond all that, I really want to highlight this post. No, this isn't pointless. As always, when everyone bands together to do something great, there's always a small group of insufferable people who go out of their way and try to ruin it. I'm talking about the no one's listening, nothing will happen, false hope people. Anyone who has any knowledge at all about how this industry works knows this whole movement is a great idea and a pretty good shot at getting something made. Sure, there are no guarantees, but it's not as bleak as some are suggesting. No one with a brain thinks a Battlefront game will materialize out of thin air and be announced for release this year. But this whole Battlefront Resurgence has gotten so big, there's no way there aren't conversations being held right now about possibly making a third game. The more this keeps up, the more serious those conversations will get. DICE is about to release a new Battlefront game in a few months. Battlefield game. And thanks to this, there's a very real chance they get put on to make a new Battlefront after, which was unthinkable even a couple of months ago. People are jumping on this post, saying all of EA's recent releases have flopped. This is the game the community is actually asking for. It's the easiest money they could make. I can't believe we are back to the point where I am playing Star Wars Battlefront 2 on a Monday with 9,000 other players on Steam. And if there are 9,000 players on Steam currently, that means there is more than likely 100,000 players across all platforms total right now. Not only that, on other platforms we are seeing massive resurgences in this game's popularity. Trending on PlayStation Network all the way up to the 3rd spot in trending. If that doesn't show EA that we mean business, I don't know what does. So I don't want people to completely lose hope. Yes, it is Memorial Day weekend, so there will be a surge in players anyway, but we're not talking about breaking the player record on just Resurgence Day. We also broke it the very next day, meaning people aren't just coming into the community again to try and get Battlefront 3. They enjoyed themselves so much that they brought their friends in to play with them the next day. It doesn't get much better than that. That is huge news for the Battlefront community. So despite all of the naysayers, despite all of the people saying that this is fruitless, what's the point, game studios will never listen to us, you have to understand that game studios, they work at a snail's pace. First, before they even get to work on a game, they have to go through marketing to make sure that this is something people will buy. And guess what? we're doing the marketing for them. Getting 300,000 players across all platforms reportedly is absolutely massive for any game, let alone one that is 8 years old. We had more players than Counter-Strike at one point, which just released Counter-Strike 2 not too long ago. We had more players than most games that are released in the last year. The only ones that are beating us right now are things like Fortnite, which will always have a perpetual player base. Real quick, huge thank you to Instant Gaming for sponsoring this video. They have literally the best deals in gaming. I use it all the time. If you like Star Wars games, Lego Star Wars for $2. Star Wars Battlefront 2 for $9. One of my favorite Star Wars games, Jedi Knight Jedi Academy, $1.70. If you want to play the Star Wars Galaxy at War mod, Men of War Assault Squad 2, $3. Extremely popular games can be up to 99% off. Link in the description below. Thank you to Instant Gaming for sponsoring the channel. Thank you guys for watching. Let's get into the video. So no, absolutely all hope is not lost. And we need to stop that narrative immediately. It takes time for game studios to catch up to what the community wants. But rest assured, if we continue playing this game, they will listen to us and we will get something. It might not be exactly what every single community member wants. Some people want Battlefront 2 to come back and they don't really care for a Battlefront 3. Some people only want Battlefront 3 and will stop playing Battlefront 2 pretty much after all of this hype dies down and only continue to play Battlefront once Battlefront 3 is released. And that's okay too. Not every single community member is going to be appeased by this company. But at the very least, we've shown that Star Wars still has legs. Star Wars can have the weight of its community pull game studios. But the key thing here is that the vast majority of us need to continue playing Battlefront 2. We cannot abandon the game like we did previously. Again, not too long ago, literally just a few months ago, on Steam, there was only 500 concurrent players. Now, EA, aka the old Origin app, still probably carries the most Battlefront 2 players because that's where the game was released first, and Battlefront 2 only came to Steam much later on, like years down the line. Yes, it was free on Steam for a time, which was incredible. However, that being said, most people already own the game at that point on EA. But there's also the PlayStation, the Xbox networks that have their own player bases going for them as well. So that 500 figure number is a little bit misleading. There was probably a few thousand players every single day on the Battlefront servers within the various different platforms. That being said, that's still not quite enough players to actually get this game made into a trequel. But with Battlefront 2 currently having hundreds of thousands of players across all the different platforms, that is a very real possibility of happening now. That's huge. That is absolutely massive news. And especially if the hype continues for not just weeks, but months ahead, then I really think that people will see this at EA and start to act on it. We can't just have one weekend of massive numbers and then have it die off instantly. I'm not expecting us to get back to 18,000 players anytime soon. And that's okay too, because at the end of the day, that had the push of tons and tons of famous YouTubers, famous celebrities, famous voice actors, developers who played the original game. There was a lot of push to get to that big 300,000 number and 18,000 number on Steam, which again is the only current confirmed number. If I remind you of that, it does get a little bit sadder, but I think Battlefront Updates definitely does have a good inside source for that 300,000 number, as he has leaked things in the past and, you know, had good intel in the past as well that later became official. So, that all being said, 300,000 players is incredible. And even if we drop down to 5,000 concurrent players on Steam every day, which I think is very, very obtainable, then I think we'll be doing just fine, and I think that will still be enough across all platforms for EA to potentially start making the development of the next game. I also think that if we hold more events such as this, then there's only upwards momentum to come. I'm not saying we need to have Resurgence Day every single weekend. I think people would become burnt out of the game, and it just wouldn't go very well in the long run with that. That would probably hurt the community more, just having false hope every single weekend, and then having the player base drop back off, only to have someone come up and hype it up again. I know people will definitely be like, oh, let's have Resurgence Day 2 next weekend. That won't work. I think the most important thing is to continue to play Battlefront and hold more events periodically. Get streamers together to play together on certain days, or, you know, go ahead and hold some sort of tournament, or get those Star Wars clone trooper legions back in the game. Ones like Woof Woof Wolf, who used to run the 104th Wolfpack Battalion, and would get a bunch of gamers all together to play on Battlefront 2 at set periods of times. Going and getting more events going will just bring more interest to the game in the long run from more people, and I'm gonna try and do my part by at least doing a Star Wars Battlefront 2 video every single week or more if people are continuing to be into it. Don't worry, if you guys subscribed for Gates of Hell, if you subscribe for Men of War Star Wars mod, if you subscribe for Army Men content, etc., you know, the usual that I post, I will continue to be posting the usual on this channel. But I want to make more room for Battlefront 2 again. You know, I have hundreds of Battlefront 2 videos on this channel because I've been playing this game since the very beginning, since the beta. It's, you know, one of my all-time favorite games for a reason, and I'm a huge Star Wars nerd, so of course I'm gonna play it. But that being said, you know, I fell off playing it because there was no hype, there was no updates, more Star Wars game came out, like Jedi Fallen Order, new mods came out that captivated me, but I do see it as being important to continue to play this game on the channel for the good of the community as a whole, to try and get more people playing. And so I really think that as long as YouTubers, streamers, etc. pop into this game every so often, bring their audiences with them, re-spark the interest in the game, then we might continue to see a resurgence and start to see those player counts even out at higher numbers every single week, which would be absolutely fantastic. And it helps that there's a ton of new players in this game too, and the community has been super welcoming to them, which I think is also important. I don't want people to be out here, you know, calling people shinies and making fun of them for not being very good at the game. Everyone started as a shiny at some point, and, you know, if a bunch of teenagers are just picking up the game for the first time because of this hype, that is only a good thing for us. That's what we need to be seeing in this game for it to thrive, because the next generation is super important for Star Wars gaming. And that kind of bandwagoning is perfect for getting future games made. And of course, continuing the pressure on EA. I'm not saying boycott EA, because that is the #1 way not to get things done, and that's what the topic of yesterday's video was all about, was how calling for boycotts of EA, while in some instances are, you know, pretty just and a very good idea, especially with their manipulative money tactics and just immorality overall. Yeah, I completely agree that game boycotts are a good thing sometimes, but in this case, if you want them to make a game for us, boycotting the game you want them to make a trequel of is not a good idea. That's not gonna work in the long run in the slightest. We want to show support for the game, and that we'll actually play it, and that we will spend money on it. Not say that we're not going to support your games if you don't make another game. That doesn't make sense in this instance. If they make Battlefront 3 and there's horrible microtransactions in it again, like Battlefront 2 started out with, then yes, boycott, but don't start with the boycotts right now. Remember, Morbius. I keep bringing this up, but Morbius is a perfect example of this. Everyone pressured Sony to re-release Morbius as a meme, joking that they would go and see the movie again if it was re-released to theaters. One of the worst movies of the modern day, extremely boring, no one cared for it really, and no one really asked for it. However, people continued to pester Sony about getting a re-release of Morbius to go see in theaters. And then they did it, and it flopped a second time because it was a meme. Now, picture that, but with EA and Battlefront, where the pressure being asserted onto EA is real, and people actually want to see a Battlefront 3. And we're begging them, and potentially they could release it, and unlike Morbius, people will actually go and play the game. I think that this is something that could really happen, and we could see Battlefront 3 come out if we continue to voice our support for a potential third game in the series. Something that we were not able to get way back in the day with Battlefront 2 2005, and we might finally make happen for Battlefront 2 2017. That's the dream. To live long enough to finally see a Battlefront 3 released. Now, I want to say, again, we're not going to be seeing a game released right off the rip. That's just not going to happen. I'm pretty sure that we're going to be seeing the start of development. I'm sure there has been brainstorming boards or, EA dev teams that have worked out some details on what a potential Battlefront 3 could entail, but I highly doubt any real work has ever been made on the project. So, we're not going to be seeing an announcement trailer tomorrow. That's not going to happen. But that doesn't mean that no news is bad news. It also doesn't mean no news is good news, but no news is simply that in this instance. It's no news. There is still hope. Again, I think we have almost a guarantee that the higher-ups at EA have heard about this movement. Because at the end of the day, there are insiders tweeting about Battlefront. F1 team, which is probably an intern, did comment on Battlefront community making a resurgence. And now, it's not exactly the EA division that we were hoping to see make a comment on this. F1 has nothing to do with Battlefront after all. However, it's something. It is something. And beyond that, we've had a ton of developers, former developers, albeit, starting to say things about wanting to return for a potential Battlefront 3, as well as voice actors who are still connected with EA, and voice actors who are connected with Disney, maybe the more important company because EA does not currently own the rights anymore exclusively. So they would also need Disney approval to get Battlefront 3 made at the end of the day. So all that being said, all of these different developers, insiders, voice actors, etc., at least a few of them have definitely gone to their bosses or their connections or their agents and said, hey, have you seen all this hype about Battlefront? Can you ask EA what's going on? Are we going to make this? Is this a real thing? I guarantee you the president of EA has heard about this. At this point, it has become too big of a movement, too massive of a scale operation. I mean, this is definitely beating out all of the Battlefield games that are currently on PlayStation, Xbox, PC, etc. So, I'm thinking the president of EA has heard about this, does know about this. And no news does not mean they're not talking about it internally, coming up with numbers, coming up with the development team. And people have made some very, very good points about the fact that Battlefield is about to release potentially this year from what I've heard. Now, that is not completely confirmed, but there have been statements made that the release of Battlefield 5, I think it's actually 6. I'm not even sure if the game has an exact title yet, but that game is slated for release either this year or next year now. So once that team is done with development, usually they end up going on to a secondary team for future maps, DLC expansions, etc., which would open up a development team to work on Battlefront 3. And you have to remember, for 2042, a lot of the developers for that game came from Star Wars Battlefront 2, and it's a reason why we didn't get continued development for this game. So, potentially we could be seeing a development team pulled from the Battlefield series to go back to Battlefront, which would be a fantastic thing to see. Now, in terms of development actually starting this year, I mean, I feel like that's fairly slim, but what I'd really like to see as a whole from EA is at least comment on the fact that this is happening and that their community is coming out in spades to try and make this happen. I think just any kind of acknowledgement officially from EA is what most of us are looking for right now. We're not waiting for a release date. We're not waiting for confirmation of development. We simply just want to see that, hey, yeah, we're working on it. We hear you, and, you know, we see the support that you're giving us. Because support has to be reciprocal in these instances, or else it really will feel like this was all for naught. Hey, we got Darth Maul. Very nice. Love to see it. But either way, guys, I do want to see what you guys all think in the comment section below. You know, have you been having fun with Battlefront 2? Because that's another important thing to remember, is that this is also something that we should be proud of as a community, because we're coming back together and having a good time playing an old game and reliving the nostalgia for it. I suck at lightsaber heroes. I know. I don't need to hear it in the comment section. Okay, guys? It's fine. Everything's fine. But yeah, this has been some of the most fun I've had gaming in an exceptionally long period of time. I still play regularly, you know, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege. I still regularly play the Battlefield games. I still hop on Chivalry 2 all the time, one of my favorite multiplayer games to play. I am a regular gamer on top of a YouTuber. I know there's lots of YouTubers out there who don't really actually do a lot of gaming despite making gaming content, but it's a good way for me to unwind while my wife works, or, you know, she's a hairstylist, so sometimes she comes home at 8 p.m., so I've, you know, 3 hours after my workday to go ahead and start playing some games and things like that. And having Battlefront 2 come back has made me want to hop on beyond making these videos. So I've had a really great time playing beyond just for videos. And that's a real big thing for me, is when I start to want to play a game outside of YouTube, then I know I am truly invested in it. And, you know, there's some games, like Ultimate Epic Battle Simulator 2, I do not play on my own at all. I mean, first of all, it's just kind of a battle sim game, so it's not exactly super fun to play on your own beyond just kind of messing around with it. So, you know, it is a different thing. But other games in a similar vein, I don't always want to play once I'm done recording them, because either I'm not super into it, or I just feel like I play it for work and kind of ruins the fun of playing it for fun. And this game is fantastic, and it leaves me wanting to play more once I'm done making a video of it. And I've had just an absolute blast playing Battlefront 2 with you guys, re-experiencing the community, playing again with people that I have not played with in years, and seeing other YouTubers playing this game who haven't covered it in years as well. It is just such a cool thing to see, and it's really made my day. Also, the communities have been just chatting like crazy during the Resurgence day and the day after. This chat in this game has not been really popping off or anything along those lines. However, in previous battles I've been playing as, the chat is just going the entire time, which is really kind of a fun thing to see. Oh god. No! So, have you guys been having fun with Battlefront 2's Resurgence? Are you playing for the first time? I know there are new players in here. I mean, after all, you can check out the ranks and see level 0 players quite frequently. So, I think there's a lot of newbies out there, and I'd love to hear how you guys are enjoying your first experiences as Battlefront 2 is released. This has become a community game more than anything, which I think is awesome. That's the best kind of game. I mean, look at this. Yeah, we've got a ton of low-ranked players. Level 6, level 10. There's a level 1 on their team. There's actually multiple level 1s on their team. That's probably why we're dominating so hard. I mean, I only see a few gold border players right now. That's pretty telling that this is not just the past players of Battlefront 2. This is the new gen coming forward and wanting to try this game out, which is honestly incredible. And it also makes noob hunting super fun, dude. Everyone starts somewhere, but god, for the pros, it does become pretty entertaining to rack up those kill streaks. I saw the other day on Reddit, someone had a 500 player kill streak. Non-hacking. It was just a really, really long game of Supremacy. And after all, Supremacy games can last for literal hours if you do not end up taking the the ship at the end of the day. So that is pretty friggin' remarkable. Speaking of which, we do really need to work on holding these points if we want to be boarding their ship. It's actually fairly neck and neck. So let's get in here and try and mess with Yoda and this jet trooper at least a little bit. There's Yoda. What up, buddy? Okay, I need my jet to recharge. Oh, brother dash attacked me. Cringe. We'll get back in here quickly. All right, yeah, we need to take a point here very, very fast. Let's see. Probably B is the nearest. Let's head over there. Hit a tree. Just like my golf game. All right, just yeet that out there. Oh, this was where Yoda was, so that does not bode super well. Oh, God, don't let me die to a bot. I'm super low health. Oh, God, there's jet troopers over there. No, no, no. Get out of there. No! All right, that wasn't going to happen. They might get the boarding here. I'm not going to take Bosk right now because we'll just lose it. Oh, yo! They actually captured everything else. Nice! All right, maybe we can still get this. Let's get over to C to slow down this capture. Nice, good stuff. Decapture it, because here comes Yoda and the whole freaking fleet of clones. Good, we have an AAT with us. That is quite important. We clapping some cheeks, boys! We getting those cheeks clapped, baby! Good stuff. Alright. Good! Our transports are on the way. That was actually very neck and neck for a second there. That was a bit of a close run. Well, I'm kind of surrounded at the moment. That's a lot of commandos, dude. Alright. Juke 'em. Let's get out of here and try and board so we get a little bit of extra time. I might not make it. AAT, cover me! Go, go, go. Alright. Whoa there. Whew. Okay, come on. There we go! Alright, we should get all these guys on. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Hopefully we get a couple minutes at least. Look at that. Top of the leaderboard on our team. Alright, here we go. Let's see if we can accomplish this rather quickly. I also wanted to say thank you guys so much for the absolutely massive surge in viewers recently. You know, Star Wars content for a while just really wasn't getting any views on my channel, and I was gearing my content a little bit more towards World War II lately, since that is something that, you know, consistently always does well on the channel. But I think the real thing was that shows were not doing super well to actually, like, re-hype up Star Wars. Ahsoka, you know, the, I forget what it's called. Pirate ship? No. Smuggler ship? There's some ship show. I don't know. It did really poorly. and a bunch of other projects also on Disney Plus that are Star Wars related. Just no one... Ghost Ship? Was that what it was called? I can't remember. But yeah, Star Wars has not been cooking lately. The only thing they really have cooked with is Andor. There's no movies coming out. There's only TV shows. So all of those factors combined really just kind of killed the buzz overall of Star Wars. I know Bombastic was having, you know, similar issues with this. I remember he made a video not super long ago just talking about how, like, disappointing it was to make a Star Wars video just for it to do worse than all of his other videos that he makes and things like that. You know, as long-term members of the Star Wars community on YouTube, I think it does pain us a little bit to see that kind of a thing happen to our favorite franchise. So, you know, that all being said, I just wanted to say thank you, because yesterday's video that I uploaded on Star Wars Battlefront 2 was my best performing YouTube video ever. I'm not talking about actual view-wise overall, because, you know, I do have some million view videos on this channel, on Daily Bricks, etc. However, in one day, we managed to get over 100,000 views. And while I'm recording this, it's in the morning on Monday, and it's over 150K pretty soon. So that's crazy. I've never had a video blow up that quickly. That is actually insane for me as a YouTube channel. Even on some of my other channels that have in the past done historically better in terms of 24-hour video performance than daily tactics. You know, like daily bricks back in the day when that was kind of popping off for a little while. You know, it'd get like 30, 40, 50k views in a day, that kind of a thing. I think one time I had a 100k view video in a day, but to hit 150,000 views in less than 24 hours is something I've never done in my YouTube career. It's a huge milestone for me, and I just have to say thank you guys so much, because that is absolutely massive. Yeah, that was pretty freaking cool, dude. I was not expecting that, especially because I've just been covering the Battlefront 2 news and having fun covering it and partaking in the community event. And, you know, those videos were doing decent, you know, 20, 30k views a video, kind of on average with my video content. And then to just have that go nuts was surreal. That was absolutely unbelievable, dude. And having people come out of the woodwork asking for Rico's Brigade and getting 100+ likes on their comment asking for Rico's Brigade, that meant a lot to me, man. That really did. I don't know. Rico's Brigade Resurgence? Question mark? So that was pretty cool. I didn't realize so many people actually like cared about the past series I've made on YouTube, so that just feels good, you know? That's a cool feeling to have. Oh, we're getting cooked. Hold on. Hold on. Let me just chill for a second. I don't think the door behind me opens. Let's toss that out there. Okay, we gotta heal up for a sec. We're at 121 limbs. Oh god, 102 kills, 21 deaths. That is not bad. Yeah, that does not open, which is good. Alright, I'm just gonna heal up even further for just a bit. For just a touch. Alright, now we can start moving a little bit more. Toss a little smoke granata in there. Hold on, Yoda. I can mess with you. I don't think he died. He's still out there, I think. Maybe in that corner? Maybe he did go down? I feel like we would have gotten the assist, but maybe I didn't hit him. That could be it. Oh, look at that. Our boys on the other side pushed all the way through and are hitting that objective nicely. Look at that. Oh my god. We're gonna do this so quickly, dude. Holy cow. Who's shooting me? Get out of here. Nice. Look at this. Oh my god. What a game, dude. We got tied for the most eliminations. 124. We got 105 kills, 21 deaths. My goodness. We clapped cheeks. Wow. Holy cow. Either way, guys, that is going to be about it for today's video. Keep the pressure on EA, keep supporting Battlefront 2, and keep having fun playing it, because it's fantastic. I'll see you all in the next one. Thanks for the support. Peace. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Be sure to click that subscribe button for more content, and hit the notification bell if you'd like to be alerted to whenever I live stream or upload. Thanks so much.